Hey everyone, ready for something truly mind-blowing? Today, we're going to dive deep into the world of radical life extension. This is a movement that's seriously challenging the whole idea of aging.
It really is a fascinating new way to look at it, We used to just accept that we get older, but now we're seeing aging as like a problem we can solve.
Yeah, almost like rewriting the rules of the game. And leading this charge is Bryan Johnson, right? This tech billionaire. He went all in on fighting aging, like
Yeah.
literally putting his money where his mouth is with this huge personal experiment called Project Blueprint. So what exactly is he doing?
Well, Johnson's approach is radical. He wants to reverse his biological age. And to do that, he's got this crazy, intense, and controlled routine. We're talking 1,977 calorie vegan meals every day, 111 different supplements, super strict exercise, red light therapy, all that.
111 supplements. That's wild. Is there a method to all this?
Oh, absolutely. It's not random health tips. It's all about constant testing, tweaking things, using AI analysis and all the newest research to guide him. Think of it like biohacking taken to a whole new level. He's always tracking his biomarkers and making changes to his routine to optimize every single part of his health. The goal is to slow down, or maybe even reverse, the whole aging process.
So it's more than just taking some pills. It's using all this data and science to make a super personalized anti-aging plan. Are we seeing any results from all this?
The early result, actually pretty intriguing. The tests show that things like his heart, skin, lungs, even his fitness levels are all functioning like he's way younger than he actually is. Now, of course, this is just one guy, and we need a lot more research to be sure these results are valid for everyone.
Yeah, of course, still early days. But the fact that you could potentially turn back the clock, even a little bit,
Yeah.
that's pretty mind-blowing, don't you think?
It really does challenge what we thought we knew about aging. And Johnson's not stopping there. He's pushing it even further. He's even trying out plasma transfusions from his teenage son.
Wait, hold on. From his son. That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. What's the thinking behind that?
It's based on research into whether young blood can actually rejuvenate older bodies. They've seen some pretty fascinating results in animal studies, where older mice showed signs of getting younger after getting transfusions of young blood. Still very experimental, but it raises interesting questions about whether we could use young blood to fight aging in humans.
So Johnson's going all in on his personal experiment. But he's not alone in this search for a longer life, is he?
Definitely not. He's actually part of a whole movement. Organizations like Altos Labs, Calico, the Methuselah Foundation, they're pouring billions of dollars into anti-aging research.
Billions. Wow, that's a serious investment. What are they focused on?
All sorts of exciting stuff. Some are looking at gene editing, literally changing the code of life to stop aging. Others are into cellular reprogramming, trying to make our cells young again by basically turning back the clock. And then there's regenerative medicine, which is about repairing or replacing damaged tissues and organs to keep us going longer.
So it's like a full-on attack on aging itself, huh? Lots of different ways to approach it.
Exactly. And we're already seeing some amazing breakthroughs. For example, scientists have managed to reverse aging in mice by reprogramming their cells. They've also managed to make worms and flies live a lot longer than normal. It makes you wonder, if it's possible for those creatures, could it eventually be possible for humans too?
Now, that is a tantalizing thought. A future where getting old isn't just something that happens, but something we can overcome. What if we could live healthy and vibrant for decades longer than we do now, maybe even centuries?
It's a future with incredible potential, but it also brings up some big ethical questions we need to think about. Before we get too caught up in all the amazing possibilities, we have to acknowledge that there are some serious concerns that come with trying to live so much longer.
It's true, yeah.
When we start talking about living so much longer, we have to think about what kind of world we're creating,
It really makes you wonder, what would a society full of people who don't age even look like? Would we still have the same drive, the same ambition, if we didn't have death always looming over us? How would it change things like our relationships, our jobs, even our sense of purpose?
Those are all huge questions, definitely. Think about overpopulation for a second. If people just stopped dying of old age, we'd have to completely change how we handle resources and sustainability.
And what about our social structures? Would things like retirement or marriage even make sense anymore if people were living for hundreds of years?
It's mind-blowing to even imagine. And then there's the whole issue of access. Let's say these life-extending treatments become a reality. Who's going to be able to afford them? Could it end up creating a whole new kind of inequality, where you have the rich elite who can live forever and everyone else who's still stuck with the normal limits of aging?
Almost like a sci-fi dystopia, huh? But okay, let's not jump too far ahead. We're still in the early stages of this whole thing, right?
Oh, for sure. It's important to remember we're dealing with possibilities here, not guarantees. But the research itself is incredibly exciting. Scientists are making real progress in figuring out how aging works and how we might be able to intervene.
You were talking about some of those different approaches before. Can we dig a little deeper into those? I'm really curious about that cellular reprogramming thing.
Yeah.
How does that actually work?
It's a really fascinating area. Basically, cellular reprogramming uses these genes called Yamanaka factors to reset adult cells back to a younger state, more like stem cells. These Yamanaka factors were discovered by this Japanese scientist, Shinya Yamanaka, and they've totally changed how we understand aging at the cellular level, and of course how we might be able to reverse it.
So it's like hitting a reset button on our cells,
Yeah.
taking them back to before they started getting damaged and old.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And the potential uses are huge. Scientists are already looking into how cellular reprogramming could be used to treat all kinds of age-related diseases, like heart disease, Alzheimer's, even cancer.
Wow. To think that we might one day be able to regenerate our own tissues and organs.
Yeah.
Basically turning back the clock on our bodies. What about gene editing? Where does that fit into all of this?
Gene editing is another really powerful tool in the fight against aging. With techniques like CRISPR-Cas9, scientists can go in and change specific genes that are involved in aging. Potentially, this could let us fix genetic defects, make our natural repair systems work better, or even add new genes that help us live longer.
It sounds so futuristic, but it's actually happening now, right? I read about this biohacker, Liz Parrish, who claimed she actually reversed her biological age using gene therapy. She injected herself with this experimental treatment to lengthen her telomeres, those things on the ends of our chromosomes that get shorter as we age.
Right. Her claims haven't been scientifically proven yet, but the whole idea that we can manipulate our genes to fight aging is pretty mind-blowing. And it shows how much interest there is in taking control of our own health and longevity using a more personalized approach.
Yeah, like we're moving away from this passive way of thinking about healthcare, where we just wait for something to go wrong before we do anything, and moving towards a more preventative model. We're starting to take charge, actively trying to optimize our health and live longer.
Yep.
And it's not just about these high-tech things like gene editing or cellular reprogramming, right? There's a lot we can do in our everyday lives to age healthier.
Absolutely. Things like what we eat, how much we exercise, how we manage stress, how well we sleep, our social connections, all of that plays a huge role in how we age. By making good choices in those areas, we can actually influence our biological age and maybe even slow down the whole aging process.
It's a good reminder that we have more power than we think when it comes to our health and how long we live. It's not just about waiting for some miracle cure. It's about taking steps to live healthier and more vibrant lives right now.
Exactly. And as research keeps moving forward, we're probably going to see even more options for improving our health and living longer. It's such an exciting time to be following this field, and it's clear that the search for longevity is just getting started.
Yeah, it's a topic that makes you think. It's full of wonder and excitement, but also a little bit of caution. We've looked at the potential benefits and challenges of living longer, but I think the most important question is, what does all this mean for us as individuals?
That's where it gets really interesting, I think, because while the science is fascinating, at the end of the day, it's about something much bigger. It's about what it means to be human, how we define a good life, and what kind of future we want to create for ourselves and for the generations that come after us.
It really does feel like we're entering a whole new era, where the limits of human life are being challenged, and what it even means to age is changing.
Yeah, it's a huge shift in how we think about what's possible. I mean, for centuries, aging and death were just givens, right? But now we're actually questioning that and exploring the idea that we could live a lot longer.
It's exciting, but kind of scary too, right?
Yeah.
Like if we could live for hundreds of years, how would that change our values, our priorities? Would we look at life totally differently?
It's definitely something to think about. Would we become more careful, less willing to take risks because we have so much more to lose? Or would it be the opposite? Would we be more adventurous, more driven to chase our dreams because we know we have all the time in the world?
And what about our relationships? Imagine being with the same person for like 200 years. Would it make the bond stronger or would it create new problems?
It's wild to even consider. And then there's work, careers. Would retirement even be a thing anymore? Would we need to completely rethink how we educate people and train them for jobs if they were going to be working for centuries?
I mean, it's clear that living longer would change everything about society. We'd have to rethink our social structures, our personal beliefs, everything.
It'd be a total transformation for each of us individually and for all of us together. And it brings up some really deep philosophical questions, too. Like, if death isn't inevitable anymore, what does that do to our understanding of what it means to be alive, to have a purpose?
Right. That's a question that's been around forever, right? Does life have some inherent meaning? Or do we create our own meaning? Would we still strive for the same things if we could live forever?
It's hard to know for sure, but I think it would force us to really think about what's truly important to us. If time wasn't a factor, how would we spend our lives? What kind of impact would we want to leave behind?
Almost like we'd have a blank slate, a chance to redefine what it means to have a good life, a meaningful life.
Exactly. And it's a conversation we need to be having now as all this research moves forward, you know? The choices we make today are going to shape the future.
It's a future with so much potential, but also potential dangers. But one thing's for sure, it's a future worth thinking about. Whether we embrace it or fight against it, the quest to live longer is going to have a huge impact on human history.
We're heading into uncharted territory here, and we're all part of it. We don't know for sure what's going to happen, but the pursuit itself is pushing the limits of what we know and making us reconsider what's possible.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of radical life extension, I want to leave you with one last question to think about. How would you feel about living in a world where people could live for centuries? What kind of opportunities and challenges do you think it would bring?
It's a big question, one that deserves a lot of thought, because ultimately the future of aging is up to us.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. We hope it sparked your curiosity and made you want to learn more about this amazing topic.